Imagine a young woman full of promise, out for a night with friends and vanishing without a trace. In this video, we uncover the terrifying story of Libby Squire, a 21-year-old philosophy student whose life was brutally cut short. This is a tale of vulnerability, hidden danger, and how a single night can change everything forever. It was Thursday, January 31st, 2019, in Hull, East Yorkshire, England. Libby Squire, just 21 years old, was a bright and determined student at the University of Hull. That evening, she joined her friends for a night out, despite having an early lecture the next morning. Like many students, she didn't want to disappoint her friends, and so she went, fully embracing the night. Libby lived in shared student accommodation near the university, and throughout the evening, she stayed in touch with her boyfriend James. The last message James received from her was at 10:30 p.m. The next day, concern began to grow. Libby hadn't returned home, and none of her friends or family could reach her. When they visited her flat on Wellesley Avenue, she wasn't there. Law enforcement was called, and a search began. Investigators spoke with her friends, piecing together her last known movements. According to them, Libby had been refused entry to the Welly nightclub in Hull. Security suspected she was intoxicated, and to ensure her safety, her friends arranged for a taxi to take her home. Police collected CCTV footage, interviewed witnesses, and searched the surrounding area. They discovered something alarming. Libby's house keys were found in a neighbor's garden. While it was confirmed she had arrived home in the taxi, she didn't go inside. Instead, she wandered down the street, visibly distressed and alone. Early in the investigation, police focused on a specific lead. They believed they had identified someone connected to Libby's disappearance. 7 weeks later, on March 21st, Libby's body was discovered in the Humber estuary between Spurn Point and Grimsby. A man, 26-year-old Pavel Raywich, was arrested. He had previously been questioned shortly after Libby vanished but had been released. Pavel, originally from Poland, lived in Hull with his wife and two young children and worked as a butcher. When initially questioned, he told police that he had found Libby crying in the street and offered her a ride. According to him, she had felt unwell, and he dropped her off near some playing fields. He maintained that this was the last time he saw her, famously saying, "I've got nothing to hide. Check the cameras." However, CCTV and witness statements contradicted his story. Paval was charged with rape and murder. He pleaded not guilty, claiming any sexual activity was consensual. The prosecution painted a stark picture of Libby's final hours. On that bitterly cold night, she was vulnerable, intoxicated, and alone. She had dropped her house keys in a neighbor's garden, leaving her locked out and in distress. Multiple witnesses saw her struggling to navigate the streets. Jorge Thompson, a fellow student, watched Libby fall flat on her face after exiting the taxi. She remained on the ground for several seconds, struggling to regain her footing. Neighbors, including students Hannah Wright and Emma Halshaw, found her sobbing and offered help, but Libby declined. Others, like Roland Jacobs and Alan Jones, saw her while returning from a darts match. Concerned, they stopped and attempted to assist. She mumbled incoherently, asking for comfort and hugs. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't help her, and eventually they left, powerless. Lorna Allen recounted seeing Libby lying near a bus stop, crying and shouting, slurring her words and talking to herself. Witnesses described her as intoxicated, vulnerable, and desperate for assistance. During the trial, it emerged that Paval had a history of disturbing sexual behavior. In the months leading up to Libby's disappearance, he committed several sexually motivated burglaries, stealing intimate items from women's homes as trophies. When police arrested him, they found a bag in his car containing women's underwear, intimate toys, and photographs of young women. Additional evidence revealed that he had exposed himself to women in public and even spied on them through windows. One female student testified that he had been inches away from her window while she was dressing, and another recounted a similar invasion of privacy during an intimate moment. CCTV showed Paval driving around the area that night in a silver Vauxhall Astra, sometimes in circular patterns, suggesting he was actively seeking a victim. The prosecution argued that Paval eventually found Libby just after midnight. He picked her up, drove her to the Oak Road playing fields, and sexually assaulted her. Afterward, her body was placed in the river, eventually drifting into the Humber estuary. Witness Sam Alford heard a woman screaming from the direction of the river and later saw a man fleeing the scene. The prosecution argued this was Libby and Paval, respectively, Paval reportedly had scratches on his face, allegedly from Libby defending herself. Determining Libby's exact cause of death proved challenging. Her body had been submerged for nearly 2 months. Forensic pathologist Dr. Matthew Lee testified on hypothermia, drowning, and asphyxia as potential causes. Toxicology revealed Libby's blood alcohol content was 198 milligrams per 100 ml, well above the legal driving limit. Her body showed bruising on the inner thigh and lacerations on the upper lip. Small hemorrhages around her mouth suggested possible strangulation or compression. However, decomposition made definitive conclusions impossible. Seminal fluid matching Paval's DNA was found in swabs from inside Libby's body, further linking him to the crime. Professor Charles Deakin, an expert in human behavior, testified that Libby's intoxication severely impaired her ability to defend herself. Her coordination, judgment, and capacity to escape threats were all compromised, leaving her extraordinarily vulnerable. Pavel's defense argued that he had offered Libby a ride out of compassion and any sexual activity was consensual. They suggested that she might have taken her own life and pointed to Libby's history of depression, anxiety, and prior thoughts of suicide, including research into drowning. Powell himself testified, claiming he found her crying, offered help, and that she voluntarily entered the car. He admitted to past thefts and voyeuristic behavior, but denied rape and murder. The prosecution urged the jury to consider Libby's vulnerability, the witness accounts, and Paval's prior behavior. They emphasized the implausibility of consensual activity under the circumstances. The defense pressed for reasonable doubt, questioning the absence of conclusive evidence linking Paval to murder. They suggested his lies may have been to protect his family. The jury deliberated and returned a majority verdict. Paval Raywich was found guilty of rape unanimously and guilty of murder by an 11-to-1 majority. Libby's mother, Lisa Squire, gave a heartfelt statement. There are no words that could explain the torture of living without my Libby. Not only have I lost my firstborn child, with whom I had an amazing bond, but I've also lost the possibility of being a grandmother to her children. Knowing that in Libby's last hour of life she needed me, but I wasn't there for her, will haunt me for the rest of my life. Her father, Russ, also spoke of the pain of seeing pictures of his daughter after her death. The judge, in sentencing, highlighted Paval's escalating criminal behavior and disregard for the safety of women. He imposed a minimum sentence of 27 years for murder, with an 18-year concurrent term for rape. The story of Libby Squire is devastating. A young woman, full of potential, lost her life in entirely preventable circumstances. Her story reminds us of the dangers that exist even in seemingly safe environments, the importance of community vigilance, and the need for justice for victims of sexual violence. It's also a cautionary tale about predators who hide in plain sight, blending into everyday life while leaving a trail of fear and trauma. Libby's tragic night will never be forgotten, and the conviction of Paval Raywich is a step toward justice, but nothing can erase the pain of a life stolen too soon. As we remember Libby, let's also reflect on how we can protect ourselves, look out for those around us, and never underestimate the importance of reaching out when someone seems vulnerable. What do you think about this story? How can communities better protect young people from predators lurking in the shadows? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me today. Take care of yourself and your loved ones, and remember to stay aware, stay alert. This is a crazy world we live in. Till next time, my friends.